I guess I probably should have had a video starting when I took this apart, but this is the knotter assembly from my MF. It's a Massey Ferguson. It's a 128 baler. I was having a problem with this knotter. It just wasn't working, wasn't knotting, wasn't cutting the twine. We're just having nothing but problems. Everything was just getting bound up around the actual knotter. Nobody will work on this in my area, so left me no choice but to try to tackle this and take it apart myself. Never worked on a baler before, so I'm just kind of winging it here. So I figured, I might give some lessons learned for anybody else who might be in the same boat as me. I can't find any parts really available for this anywhere, so I'm just kind of diving in. The main problem that I did find is that this roller here on the front was completely seized and wouldn't move, so I finally got that freed up. And then this was actually frozen up, so this actually wasn't actually releasing and coming back down. This was just staying pinned, so it was never actually grabbing the twine. So I'm hoping that's all my problem was. Taking everything apart, everything else looks in good shape. I don't have any broken teeth off of any of the planetary gears. Inside here, everything's all good. There's no broken teeth. Just inspecting everything, nothing's really excessively worn. Everything looks pretty good now that it's all kind of cleaned up. So I'm hoping now that this spring was completely clogged solid with gunk inside here. And actually when I tried to take this apart, I had to pound on it a little bit. Normally I would think that since the spring was under tension, it would have popped out, and it didn't. So I'm hoping that's all the problem was, is that this being bound, this little knot being bound up inside here, that it was causing all my problems. So now that everything's clean, I'm going to re-lube everything, kind of install everything together. From my understanding from talking to the couple of people on the forums, the hardest problem I'm going to run into is trying to retime this as I put it back together. So tomorrow when I'm getting to put this installed, I'll hopefully get a video and my adventure of trying to get this thing all timed. That being said, seeing what really comes apart with this, I don't see why a lot of people wouldn't want to try to service this themselves, because there's really not a whole lot of mechanical parts really to this. I mean, if this is your whole entire knotter assembly, really there ain't a whole lot to it. So hopefully things go well. We'll see. I'll post a video of putting it all back together once it's all complete, and once I got the baler running, hopefully this fixes my problem. Alright, so got this all going back together here. One thing you are going to need with the spring in here under tension to put your pin back in, because you can see right there it's got the pin right here to kind of hold everything together. To get that to line up, all I did was just take a bolt, took it over to my bandsaw, I just cut a notch in it, and then what I did is I actually just laid it on here in the depth that I would need to, and then I marked it with black, so you can see right there. Just marked it with a black marker, so I knew how deep I had to get that little pin to fit through that groove. And then all I had to do was just take this and just lightly clamp it in my vise till I had the pressure that I needed, and then get that pin started, and then bring it over here and put it the rest of the way in. So little tool there that you don't need to go buy anything, just go get a basic bolt. This is a bolt I had lying around. Took a bolt, took it to the bandsaw, cut a little notch out of it, mark it, get that pin put back in there. Just make do with what you got. Alright, getting ready to assemble the other gears here. Now there's a little keyway, you can see right there at the base, right there. That little key, make sure this gear gets lined up here. So we're going to go ahead and line that up, and then we'll put all three of these planetary gears, all go around the outside on this. Now I'm just using a basic grease that's actually rated higher than what's rated. This is what I use for everything on the tractor. So I found a good synthetic grease that I can use for everything on the tractor. So any lube is better than no lube. Everybody's going to say there's certain greases or oils for certain parts. Anything is better than nothing. So whatever you got, just make do with it. This works for everything on the tractor so far that I've been using. My neighbor's been using the same grease on his tractor for 20 years and he's never had a problem. So any grease is better than no grease. So let's go ahead and get these other planetary gears on there, and then we'll kind of see if we can figure out how to get the timing going. Okay, so going off the manual says turn this arm until it's touching at the base, and you want to barely be able to see the cleaners. Back behind there should be hidden, so you can see the cleaners installed here on the underside. Believe this is how they came off. Again, early mistakes here is I probably should have marked these or indexed them in some way. The first time I ever worked on a baler, didn't think to mark them. Figured they'd all be going one way. Lessons learned for next time. But going off of what the manual says, it looks like they're installed correctly. Looks like it should be pretty close as far as how my timing is on here. I'll know because I'll check it off of the other one tomorrow, because I left the other one installed. So if I can kind of get a base off of that one, I can use that one as a reference point. The manual also said here you want a 5/1000 gap between these two so that this has a little bit of free movement. So I went ahead and just put a 5/1000 gap meter right inside here. Now that everything's lubed and greased up, this thing moves nice and easy. I mean, I can move this back and forth with one hand now. Obviously I can't do the spring with one hand, but I can move it nice and easy. So hopefully this is going to take care of my problem now that this is all moving freely. Before it wasn't. This little arm inside here actually wasn't turning. This wasn't spinning. The little bearing inside here was frozen. And the gripper here was actually open, was never closing. So I'm guessing the problem was that it was just kind of bound up in there, so it was never actually grabbing the twine and pulling it and causing the knot. At least that's what I'm hoping. Well, we'll get this thing installed. We'll give it a shot here, and hopefully that fixes it. Hopefully that helps you if you're ever getting into one of these. You know, if this works, great. If not, well, I guess I won't post a video if it doesn't work.